The scorching Hungaroring to the northeast of Budapest, the location for the 12th round of what could just be the closest Formula One World Championship for many years. Hello there, welcome to highlights of this afternoon's Hungarian Grand Prix. F1 2000 is now wide open, just 10 points separating the top four drivers. Michael Schumacher coming here as the World Championship leader, needing a good start and a handful of points as well. And he does his chances no harm at all with a superb qualifying performance. On a dusty track, qualifying's all about holding your nerve while other drivers clean up the circuit. But it's McLaren who blink first. Mika Häkkinen struggling with his setup and lacking grip.
That is a slow time for Häkkinen. He will be seriously disappointed with that.
David Coulthard, though, he's happier with his mount, but has to take second best to a flying Ferrari. Schumacher setting the fastest lap, despite being delayed by Frentzen and a little slide. The top four all hit the track at the end of the hour, but get caught out by yellow flags or slower cars.
We've had Häkkinen fastest, Ralf Schumacher, and then David Coulthard, and now Michael Schumacher.
Schumacher's pole is safe. It all looks so easy. So, Michael Schumacher's fifth pole of the season with Coulthard second on the grid once again. Häkkinen third ahead of Ralf Schumacher. A great lap in the Williams, getting him ahead of Barrichello's Ferrari and Frentzen in the Jordan. Row 4, Fisichella and Button, with Salo and Irvine rounding out the top 10. Then Wirtz 11, Trulli 12, followed by Deniz and Alesi on row 7. De La Rosa ahead of a miserable Villeneuve in the BAR, he's down in 16th. Herbert disappointed again on row 9 alongside Zonta, with Heidfeld, Verstappen and the Minardis of Genet and Mazzacani propping up the back of the grid. So it is the Hungarian Grand Prix with your commentators Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
2 lights on, 3 lights on, 4 lights on, 5 laps on. Out and go, out and go. Schumacher gets away well. Häkkinen is ahead of Coulthard, and Coulthard is being passed by Ralf Schumacher as well. Down into the first right-hander and through the McLaren goes into the lead. That is an incredible start by Mika Häkkinen. He did it in Germany, he's done it again. He's passed Schumacher. David Coulthard is in third position and Ralf Schumacher is still in fourth place, followed by Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari and Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan. So another sensational start for Mika Häkkinen. Now, does this mean to say that the Finn is on a long strategy, on light fuel to let him get away? We expected that with Michael Schumacher. I didn't expect it with Häkkinen.
I don't think he is, Murray. I think he's just, as we said before the race started, Häkkinen has aced it with regard to the clutch, and somebody's off there, somebody's lost the nose of their car. It's the BAR of Villeneuve has lost the front wing, but Häkkinen just hooks up, and he seems to get into second gear better too. Schumacher away reasonably well, Coulthard an appalling start, but Häkkinen seems to be able to build momentum and keep it going more quickly and more strongly than the other two competitors.
Well, the first 7 cars are the 7 that were on the grid up front, but there's a change right at the front because Mika Häkkinen leads Michael Schumacher. And Michael Schumacher's got a tussle on his hands now because it is so difficult to get past on this track, and Mika Häkkinen is not about to move over.
No, so blistering one from Häkkinen, he's certainly keeping that. Now watch, Coulthard just bogged down, didn't get away at all, and Häkkinen just literally sprinted between the pair of them, and seems like he gets into second gear. Maybe he pulls it a little bit later than the others and just keeps building acceleration. Then Coulthard had to keep really tight around the outside of Ralf Schumacher and managed to get track position down into turn 2. Critical move there for Coulthard. It keeps him in touch with these 2 pace setters. But I think Schumacher will undoubtedly have a faster car than Mika Häkkinen in the race. There goes the nose of Villeneuve. He's run into the back of De La Rosa in the arrows, and we don't know if he's done any damage to that arrows.
And they're both in the pits. There is the BAR getting a new nose cone, but it's destroyed the race for Jacques Villeneuve, who of course won it here in 96 and 97 in the Williams.
And De La Rosa in the pit too, so maybe he did get some damage to his rear tire. De La Rosa you saw smoking away behind the picture there of Villeneuve.
But look at this, the 3 top men in the World Championship, the 2 McLarens sandwiching Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. Häkkinen, Schumacher, Coulthard, and they're breaking away now because Ralf Schumacher is a bit of a roadblock. There's a gap behind Coulthard, and then it is Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW. David Coulthard is the fastest man on the track at the moment, and Rubens Barrichello is bottled up by Ralf Schumacher's Williams BMW. Barrichello in the second Ferrari, and he's not even looking like getting past him. Look at Jenson Button behind Fisichella. Fisichella, there's the vehicle there, and there's Jenson Button, and there is Eddie Irvine.
Hakkinen won 20.895. Now he's on some kind of spectacular pace. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That's more or less what he did in the warm-up this morning on his best effort. So Hakkinen has either got less fuel or those changes they've been making all weekend to that car just suddenly hit the sweet spot.
Well, if he's got less fuel, and that means to say he's going to have to come in early, he needs to get a...
And Irvine takes Button. I think Button ran wide into turn one, and Irvine taking over that 8th place. I think Jenson got out as Fisichella recovers onto the track too. So maybe there's some fluid or something down there into turn one, but Jenson Button out into that territory where there's almost no return, but he did manage to keep it on round the outside. Here we go, look, and it's Fisichella spinning off, Button sort of almost being sucked along and followed into Fisichella's track, and Eddie Irvine getting a run on the short straight down into turn two.
There is Fisichella, you see, on the left, running very wide indeed, nearly losing it, going onto the grass. Jenson Button sees his front full of spinning Benetton, stays on the track. Eddie Irvine dives through on the right, and Mika Hakkinen is now leading by 3.1 seconds on lap 8 out of 77.
Yes, it seemed, if there's not oil on the track, it seemed as if Jenson almost got a bit of tunnel vision there and followed Fisichella onto the wide line, but managed to keep it together. So Irvine jumping 2 places then, as you say, up into 7th place.
And just look at the way that Mika Hakkinen is forcing that car. Like Imola, you have to really use the curbs here at the Hungaroring, and that may have phased Jenson Button a bit when he first came in, but he's really attacked now.
Yes, Hakkinen attacking so much there, he really had to fight the car to get it into the last corner, and that's a very easy corner to spin on. So Mika sensationally attacking the racetrack, trying to build himself an advantage, but struggling there in that last corner. The car generally looks very, very good. Occasionally you see it pick up an awful lot of understeer, which will wear his front tyres more than necessary.
And it just shows in Formula One you can never, ever give up. Michael Schumacher had an enormous lead in the championship earlier on, so much so that people were saying it was all over, but it's never over until it's over. And Mika Hakkinen, who has won 2 races this year, Spain and Austria, to Michael Schumacher's 5, and here is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, diving through and passing the arrows of Pedro de la Rosa and going through. Remember, he came in together.
Yes, they're fighting for last place effectively. They tripped over each other on the first lap, so Villeneuve takes 21st from De La Rosa, but now a brake pedal problem apparently, so spongy brakes in the Prost. And,
Poor John Lacey,
that's Lacey's car, so now at least Villeneuve's up to 20th place. And look, Hakkinen now catching De La Rosa, all ready to lap him. Of course, they both had to stop at the end of the first lap, De La Rosa and Villeneuve, that is.
Well, now, De La Rosa should see the silver and black McLaren coming up in his mirrors and move over. If he doesn't, if he delays Mika Hakkinen, obviously it's going to give Michael Schumacher the opportunity to close up, and he needs to be doing so because it's now 4.3 seconds, and De La Rosa lets Mika Hakkinen dive through on the inside of turn 1, drop down into turn 2, right-handed turn 3, start to climb up 175 miles an hour on the approach to the kink at turn 4, and then brake hard down to about 85 miles an hour for the 3rd gear, right-hand turn 5 that they're coming to now. Michael Schumacher must, from his point of view, get points in this race. He's still leading the World Championship, amazingly, by 2 points from Coulthard and Hakkinen, who are both tying on the same number of points, 54 of them. But Schumacher's got to get points in this race if he's to keep his World Championship hopes alive.
Fisichella, who's spun twice already in this race, complaining of lack of rear grip, and he's stopped just to have some new tyres to try to fix the problem, and he's about to have the silver McLaren bearing down on him to lap him. Just 17 laps into this race, and a new fastest lap for Hakkinen, a 1:20.6. Amazing where Hakkinen has found this speed. He looked totally lost in the warm-up this morning.
Yes, it is quite incredible. He's like Senna. You can never ignore the flying fin, as he signs himself. and he's very much on a charge at the present moment. 16 Grand Prix World Championship wins behind him already. 2 World Championships. There were people who thought earlier this year that Mika Häkkinen, having won the World Championship not once but twice, had lost his motivation. He's certainly giving the lie to that belief now as he laps Fisichella and goes through. And here's a bit of background news for you. I have every reason to believe that Jenson Button has now officially signed to drive for Benetton next year. And into the pits comes Nick Heidfeld, the German driver in the French Prost with the Peugeot engine. Peugeot out of Formula One at the end of this season in favour of AMT, Asian Motor Technologies, who've taken over their know-how. And Heidfeld has stalled the engine. He's 15th. Jos Verstappen has gone through, of course, and has taken that position from him, and it does not look at all good down there. Yes,
I don't think he stalled the engine. I think he just can't find a gear. Look, they're pushing him because the engine's running, but he's not selecting a cog in there. So Heidfeld with a box full of neutrals. So now we're back on board with Häkkinen through the last corner onto the straight, and that'll be Zonta. He is now lapping, who is currently running in... Where is Zonta, Murray? He's 14th.
Zonta's way down in 14th position. So Mika Häkkinen has lapped everybody up to Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar, who is in 13th place.
And it's Schumacher. Schumacher in the pits, and will McLaren respond immediately to that. So Schumacher actually had slightly less fuel than Häkkinen.
So there's a surprise, and I would expect Häkkinen to come in on the very next lap. It's a good stop, is it? Yes, it is. 7.3 seconds for Michael Schumacher, and that means to say that David Coulthard will be up into second position, and indeed, Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello go through before Michael Schumacher rejoins the race. So now Mika Häkkinen, who has not stopped, is leading. David Coulthard is up into second place, and he has not stopped, of course. David Coulthard is second, Ralf Schumacher is third, Barrichello is fourth, and down to fifth position as a result of his stop goes Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher better hope that brother Ralf is not on a long two-stopper or indeed a one-stopper, because for sure Barrichello will get out of his way pretty quickly in the sister Ferrari, but will Ralf Schumacher move out of the way for his brother? So because Michael's going to be up behind them incredibly quickly as the Minardi rejoins the track. Yes, Johnny Herbert in for a stop. We've seen Fisichella drive straight into the garage and retire from the race. I would imagine he'll talk about handling problems, it would seem, and a long stop there for Johnny Herbert. And look, Barrichello will yield. Barrichello will yield and let Michael take the line into the first corner. And where is Ralf Schumacher? He's in the pit. That's good news for Michael. Ralf is on a two-stopper, so now Michael's got some clear track to make the most of those new tyres.
So now, when is Mika Häkkinen coming in? He is 18, 1.8 seconds ahead of David Coulthard, and he was 32 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. That should allow him plenty of time to come in, stop, take on more fuel, take on 4 new wheels and tyres, and still get back out in the lead. It should do, but will it? He's still staying out on lap 29 out of 77 as Schumacher ahead of Barrichello, and with the knowledge that his brother Ralf is not going to be in his way because he's been in the pits, hurries on.
This is for position, but it's not really a fight. They are on a different strategy, so it's understandable. It's the right thing to do. It's team play. There's a team championship. It's a team sport, and there's no point in Barrichello holding Schumacher up, who's faster anyway. But Michael, on the 3 or 4 corners I've watched that car so far this lap, has got horrendous understeer with a full tank of fuel.
And into the pits comes Rubens Barrichello, the second of the top 5 men, the third actually to come in, because the Ferrari comes to a standstill, and those prongs in the ground are to touch the bottom of the car and release any electrical static to prevent the possibility of a fire in the pit lane. 6.7 seconds, that is 0.6 of a second faster than Michael Schumacher's stop.
That's a nightmare scenario there for Rubens as a BAR and a Minardi. And look, he slots in this time around in front of Ralf. So that has launched him in front of Ralf Schumacher, and he should be able to defend that position as he's getting back up to speed. So that worked out very, very well for Rubens Barrichello.
Indeed it did. A masterly bit of planning by the Ferrari team men, notably Ross Brawn on the pit lane. In comes Pedro Diniz from 11th place in the Sauber. We're on lap 30. Häkkinen leads Coulthard by 17 seconds. Michael Schumacher is third, 32 seconds behind. James, I don't know where you are, but give me a shout if you're with Häkkinen.
In he comes, new tyres going on. Ferrari are stuck with the policy of scrub fronts. McLaren have gone the opposite way. That's a very short fuel though to get him out in front of Barrichello. Has it worked?
Well, we'll see. 7 seconds. That's the shortest of the... No, Barrichello was only 6.7 seconds. And 80 miles an hour is the pit lane speed limit. The track is clear. There is Fisichella coming towards us. Of course, he is well down the field. And here is the Ferrari coming down into turn 1, and it is Michael Schumacher. So the gap has come down considerably, but not nearly enough to satisfy Michael Schumacher, locking up his left front. Still in third position. Onto the pit lane speed limiter comes David Coulthard, up to a standstill. Under him go the jacks, up goes the car, off come the wheels, in goes the fuel filler, and the time stop for David Coulthard, 6.9 seconds, an excellent stop.
Yeah, we've seen 4 brilliant pit stops there by Ferrari and McLaren, and it's going to really end up status quo, pretty much where it all started as the first pit stop was made by the front runners of Michael Schumacher. So the only man, yes, Button has also stopped now. So everybody down to Alexander Wurz in 8th place has made their first stop.
So what are the positions? Lap 33 out of 77 as you watch Rubens Barrichello. David Coulthard has been in, so Mika Häkkinen is back in the lead, and Rubens Barrichello has got it all to do in the Ferrari. He is ahead of the BAR there on the track. And there is Mika Häkkinen. Well, it's looking like another fantastic race for the Finn. Lap 37 out of 77 in Hungary. We've just had a third retirement. Both the Prosts out previously. Jean Alesi, the first retirement. Then his teammate Nick Heidfeld. Now Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton, who's had all sorts of problems. Has been in once, gone out again, has just come out and has retired from the race. There are 19 of the 22 starters still left in the event. We're on lap 37 and Mika Häkkinen is continuing to drive an absolute storm of a Grand Prix. 14 seconds ahead of Schumacher, and you can see how close David Coulthard is to the Ferrari, because there he is. In terms of time, it's about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, Coulthard now consistently faster than Schumacher the last 4 laps. And the man on a charge is Rubens Barrichello now, having cleared Ralf Schumacher's Williams in the pit stops. He's 18.9 seconds down the road from Coulthard, but the fastest man on the track, quite comfortably, last time around was Rubens Barrichello, 4th place man. But Schumacher, I believe, is definitely struggling on this set of tyres.
Mika Häkkinen laps his unloved countryman, Mika Salo, unloved by Mika Häkkinen, that is. Salo in 10th position. Mika Häkkinen has lapped the Sauber now. Bags of traffic now for Häkkinen.
Yes, the next target, which he's just made his way past, is Trulli, who has yet to stop, the only driver not to pit. Trulli electing for a one-stop strategy. Obviously, it's not doing him much good. He's back in 9th place, and like everybody else, he's got to make one more stop during the race. As now, Eddie Irvine is the next target to be lapped, and he will have to move over. The blue flags will be waving. Eddie will let him take the inside line and try and minimise his own time loss. He does that. Häkkinen slices through and now targets Frentzen.
Yeah, well, you'll see.
Sorry, no.
I said last couple of weeks ago, you're seeing a great drive by Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari as he stormed up from 18th to win the race. You're seeing a superb drive by Mika Häkkinen, who's making everybody in front of him look pretty pedestrian. Watch him now with Marc Genet, the Spaniard in the Minardi. And he is in 17th position. He's being lapped for the second time, has been lapped for the second time by race leader Mika Häkkinen, coming through to complete his 44th lap, 16 seconds in the lead.
Murray, there's no question David Coulthard is lining up here to pass Michael Schumacher in the second round of pit stops. I can tell you for the first race, in my living memory anyway, Adrian Newey has joined David Coulthard's race effort. So it's a straight split on both sides. Ron Dennis is working for Mika Häkkinen and Adrian Newey is working for Coulthard. They're going to try and get him past Schumacher. Now, in my calculations, Shuey's going to stop around lap 53, Häkkinen around lap 55 and Coulthard around lap 56. And I've been through all the possible conspiracy theories and clever twists. It seems to me that McLaren have them all covered. This is purely a damage limitation exercise for Ferrari now.
Yeah, and Michael Schumacher looks to me to be in real handling trouble with the Ferrari, in dramatic contrast to David Coulthard, whose McLaren looks as though it is on rails around most of the corners. And Coulthard has closed right up. You can see the gap now as the Ferrari and then the McLaren exit turn 3 and start up the climb towards turns 4 and 5. It's down to under 1.5 seconds now, and Coulthard is closing at the rate of a few hundredths of a second at the moment, but Michael Schumacher goes past the Minardi, gives him a slight breathing space as he goes through turns 6 and 7, the chicane at the top of the circuit, and on towards the drop down to the last corner.
Yes, once again struggling, Coulthard having a major problem to get past the Minardi, making life absolutely as difficult as he can there. Ridiculous, that's twice that's happened to Coulthard with the same car.
Yes, Martinet, the Spaniard, is normally pretty considerate and well-mannered on the circuit. I don't know if he didn't see Coulthard, he certainly should have done, and they are on lap 48 now.
Geneyev is on a stop-go penalty, so maybe his mind was into why have I got to come in again, what does my stop go for, and was not paying attention, but certainly cost Coulthard an awful lot of time in his attempts to get somewhere near Schumacher to be ready for this next round of pit stop or punish any mistakes or any trip-ups. And the Ferrari mechanics are in the pit lane, so one of the Ferraris is due in anytime soon.
It cost Coulthard over a full second.
Barrichello, sorry Murray, Barrichello's in the pits. They short-fueled him to get him ahead of Ralf Schumacher. It worked, of course, didn't it? And now Rubens has had to stop extra early to be able to get in enough fuel to finish the race and try and keep himself ahead of Ralf. But it all shakes out at the end of the second lots of pit stops.
Shouldn't be a problem. He was over 11 seconds ahead of the Williams previously. P2 then, that's to Michael Schumacher, and it indicates that he is some 17 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen on lap 50, and he can see, I should think, David Coulthard in his mirrors. They're coming up towards tail-enders. That is the arrows in front of him. Schumacher will get through, Häkkinen will get through. It's Jos Verstappen, I think, in the arrows, but Schumacher is coming up behind in the Ferrari now as they turn into turn 4. Through on the inside he goes. This is where he had that battle with his brother Ralf in the Jordan a couple of years ago, and David Coulthard has yet to get past the arrows. He'll do it, of course. And Mika Häkkinen is again flying. He's already in this race made the fastest lap of the race on lap 33, and that was in a time of 1 minute 20.028. He's just gone round in 1:20.556, so he's astonishingly consistent. Lap 50 out of 77 then, and Michael Schumacher second ahead of David Coulthard there in the McLaren. And the Ferrari mechanics are out in the pit lane, and it has to be to receive Michael Schumacher. Barrichello's already been in. Here is Schumacher into the pit lane. David Coulthard is passing him on the track up into second position as Schumacher draws to a standstill. The perfectly drilled Ferrari team put on the new wheels, put in the fuel filler. It looks like a good stop to me. And indeed it is, 7.7 seconds. Out goes Michael Schumacher, but he's now down in third position. And I think his brother Ralf is coming in the Williams BMW from fourth place. Now, where is the Williams BMW? It's a completely clear track, and I see somebody turning in there as Michael Schumacher comes out of turn 1, round turn 3, up that tremendously fast climb. And here is Ralf. Ralf in the Williams BMW. He comes in fourth position. But of course, as he loses time in the pits, Rubens Barrichello is going to go through in the Ferrari. And sure enough, out goes Ralf Schumacher, and he's now in 5th place.
Coulthard is now second, and Michael Schumacher, having made his second stop, of course, is away down the road.
And there is Mika Häkkinen coming round to complete the lap just after Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW had rejoined the track ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's in 6th position. So the Williams BMW is continuing its absolutely incredible first season in Formula One racing.
Coulthard in the pit this time, so Coulthard in for his second stop, and really he's not under pressure. I think Michael Schumacher had a good enough stop to make sure he stays ahead. 6.6. I don't think it'll be enough to get him ahead of Michael Schumacher. Watching out of the window, it's going to be close. There's Schumacher coming down the straight now. Can Coulthard get past the speed line? No, he cannot. He's going to slot in just behind. It didn't quite pay off for the McLaren team.
And that's how close it was. So Michael Schumacher in 2nd position, David Coulthard in 3rd position, as they were before. But the McLaren, of course, is closer to the Ferrari than it was. It was about 2 seconds behind.
You can see why these drivers get angry if they get held up. Genet, who ironically was on an in-lap for a stop-and-go penalty for ignoring the blue flags. You saw him hold Schumacher up, David Coulthard up very, very badly. And this is the result. That extra second has cost Coulthard the chance to get in there ahead of the Ferrari. It makes all of the difference. A couple of corners behind a back marker can spoil your race, and Michael Schumacher maintains track position.
And of course that would have given the McLaren team 16 World Championship points for 1st and 2nd places, as opposed to 14 for 1st and 3rd. And the car there was Jacques Villeneuve in the pits from 13th position in the BAR. We're on lap 53 out of 77, 24 laps still to go. No battle for the lead because Mika Häkkinen is way, way, way out in front. Nearly 25 seconds ahead of this terrific battle between Michael Schumacher, the twice world champion, and David Coulthard in the McLaren, 9 times a Grand Prix winner.
Coulthard's only chance, I think, of launching past the Ferrari will be in traffic, really. He's got to try and catch Michael wrong-footed, lapping some cars, but we know with the blue flag system, the majority of the cars, more or less, drive out of the way so as not to get involved. And I really don't see where Coulthard's got any extra speed to nudge up alongside Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Häkkinen's lead is 43.3 seconds, but of course he's yet to stop.
And Mika Häkkinen has lapped everybody up to Ralf Schumacher, who is in 6th position. Jenson Button in the 2nd of the Williams BMWs is only just out of the points. His teammate Ralf is 6th, Jenson Button is 7th. Häkkinen.
James.
Mika Häkkinen in the pit lane. It shouldn't be too much pressure on this. Everybody's doing a pretty slick job. These stops have all been earlier than scheduled, and it was started by Ferrari trying to get Michael in. But I think they probably used that Genet situation. Maybe it was worth a try, I don't know. But it was certainly about 4 or 5 laps earlier than they would normally have brought him in, and it did work for Ferrari. It kept them ahead of Coulthard, and I have to say the McLaren guys are pretty depressed about it. They thought they'd done enough to get their man in front, but a nice job there on Häkkinen's car. He really is looking terrific today, isn't he?
And into the pits comes the Jordan Mugen Honda of Heinz-Harald Frentzen from 5th position. Now, Ralf Schumacher should have got past him.
Yes, that is the last key pit stop of the afternoon, certainly scheduled pit stop anyway, and Ralf is long gone, so Frentzen will come out still in 6th place. Johnny Herbert recovers onto the track in the Jaguar from 13th position he's in, as Jenson Button comes through to lap him, so Herbert having a nightmare.
And Jenson Button maintaining his progress. I have every reason to believe that he has now actually signed to drive for Benetton next year. I think the Williams team are going to be very sorry to see him go in a way, because they've got an embarrassment of riches with Juan Pablo Montoya, the Colombian driver who went so well in Formula 3000. That is Jacques Villeneuve going through, and Johnny Herbert spinning. This is a replay. So Villeneuve moving up from 14th to 13th. I didn't see whether they touched.
No, I think Johnny just sort of fell off in sympathy to a certain extent. I think Jacques probably surprised him a little up the inside there, and it looked a touch unnecessary, that spin, but Johnny clearly just lost the back of the car when he least needed to, and swapped ends and was looking down the track.
So where are the battles on the track? Certainly not there. Mika Häkkinen on his 62nd lap. Well, here is one of the battles, the most notable battle, which has now been raging for a long, long time. The battle for second place between Schumacher and Coulthard as they come through to complete their 62nd lap out of 77 in total. There's a battle between Jarno Trulli and Pedro Diniz for 8th place on the grid, and Eddie Irvine is up there too, because Irvine in 10th position is actually closing slightly on Pedro Diniz in 9th place in the Sauber. There's a bit of a battle going on between Mika Salo in 11th place and Alexander Wurz in 12th position. And there's a battle going on. I think, in fact, Jos Verstappen will have got past Johnny Herbert now as a result of the Jaguar driver's spin. And Verstappen will be up to 14th position in the Arrows. Here are the top 10 on lap 62 as you watch Rubens Barrichello, followed by Ricardo Zonta, and there, importantly, is Ralf Schumacher. Now, the first three are Häkkinen, Schumacher, Coulthard, McLaren, Ferrari, McLaren, then Rubens Barrichello that you've been looking at in 4th position, and he is 28 seconds behind David Coulthard, only 5 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher's Williams BMW, which is gaining on him. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is also quick, 6th position in the Jordan. The team desperately need that point. 7th is Button in the Williams, 8th is Jarno Trulli in the second Jordan, 9th is Pedro Diniz, and right behind him in 10th position Eddie Irvine. So both Jaguars are still running, and look at David Coulthard now really harrying Michael Schumacher as Schumacher comes up to lap Johnny Herbert again. Johnny in the Jaguar. We're looking at Michael Schumacher now, and what can David do? I mean, he can just look for Schumacher coming up to a car he's about to lap and hope that there'll be some hesitation.
He's got two choices. One, he can try and penalise any mistakes or being wrong-footed on Michael Schumacher's part in the traffic, or he can bide his time through the middle of the lap, this section, stay as close as possible, and then get very close in the last corner, aerodynamics allowing, and the only serious overtaking opportunity is into the first corner. We saw Mansell take Senna there. We've seen Damon Hill took Michael Schumacher there in 1997 when the Arrows was on the better Bridgestone tyres. That's Diniz dropping out of the race, our 4th retirement in 65 laps. Amazing reliability. But so there is a way through into that first corner. It's a bit nip and tuck when you get there, but somehow you've got to stay close enough, Murray, in that last corner, and that's Coulthard's problem.
Johnny Herbert spins the Jaguar. Has he kept the engine running? He clearly has from the way he's looking up the track. But the question is, who is going to be second? Because Schumacher and Coulthard are still absolutely together, ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who is 4th, Ralf Schumacher, who is 5th, and Frentzen, who is 6th.
Terrifying place to spin where Johnny was, is right on the racing line, just over the blind crest into turn 1. I think the Jaguar was sounding a little sick last time past, but Johnny, yeah, I think he's struggling a bit. Some kind of mechanical gremlins, or did he get a little nerve? I think he'd already lost the back end on the downshift, frankly, before the Arrows got very close to the back of him. And then you're looking over a little blind crest there with Formula 1 cars hurtling towards you. Not a good place to be.
Yeah, it's a very light, sandy soil here in Hungary, and this part of Hungary, and you get an enormous amount of dust. You can see from the lighter parts of the circuit that there is still dust in amongst the tarmac, and the circuit gets quicker and quicker and more rubbered up as the racing laps go by. On Friday, it's very bad news indeed, because there hasn't been any racing here for a full year. And typically in the first training session, the first practice session on Friday, everybody waits for everybody else to go out and wear their tyres out first. But then as the rubber goes down, the lap times come down and the lap speeds go up. And bang! What was that? That was one of the Minardis, and it is the Ford V10 engine which has let go. And it is Mazzacane, the Argentine driver, down from 16th position. That's only the 5th retirement of the race. The two Prosts, Fisichella, Pedro Diniz, who stopped some time ago, and now Mazzacane, and David Coulthard pressing like mad.
Yes, I wonder if there's any oil down on turn 13 there. Most of the oil's being burnt quite clearly there as Mazzacane makes his way around to the exit of the turn.
So it is all down to David Coulthard as far as McLaren is concerned. They'll be more than happy with yet another victory for Mika Häkkinen. It'll be his third of the year. David Coulthard has already had 3, so it's going to be the 6th McLaren win this year in this, the 12th race of the 2000 season. And of course Michael Schumacher has won 5 times, Rubens Barrichello has won 5 times, so it shows you with 6 wins each how very, very well matched the McLaren and the Ferrari cars are. So they've dominated victories. No other team has had a sniff of a victory in the year 2000. And here is Jarno Trulli on the right, darting out from behind Jenson Button's Williams to move ahead and up into 7th position. So now the Jordans are 6th, Frentzen, and 7th Trulli, and Trulli has been lapped.
Coulthard still 5/6 behind. Jenson Button's got a problem down the field. He'll now have Eddie Irvine lining up to pass him on the pit straight, and he may well lose that 8th position, but no points then in store for Jenson Button. Johnny Herbert out of the race, and for the British fans, Coulthard still up there clearly in 3rd place, and he can do nothing about this man, Michael Schumacher. Schumacher fighting the car, oversteering into turn 13, still not losing any time, still managing to stay very much on the grippy part of the circuit. It's little more than 2 car widths wide, the track in effect around here. Michael then wrestling the Ferrari for those hard-earned 6 points. He needs to stay in touch with Häkkinen in points, Murray, doesn't he?
He does indeed, and here is Mika Häkkinen on potentially his victorious last lap in his 140th Grand Prix, which would give him his 17th career win and his 3rd win of the year. Mika Häkkinen started from 3rd on the grid. He was absolutely magnificent at the start by taking the lead at the first corner, just as he did at Hockenheim in Germany 2 weeks ago, by diving between the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher and his teammate David Coulthard's McLaren. It's been a brilliant, brilliant copybook victory for Mika Häkkinen, who is almost home.
Yes, but all the signs of the weekend was once he had that now typical start of his, he would then be under pressure from Schumacher and Coulthard, but he just waltzed. It took him about 3 laps to find some grip and some confidence. He's been changing that car constantly through the weekend, and then he just took off, didn't he, with a series of laps that they couldn't even begin to look at.
Mika Häkkinen exits the last turn at the Hungaroring, crosses the line and wins the Hungarian Grand Prix of 2000, his 3rd win of the year, with Michael Schumacher 2nd for Ferrari, reducing the gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen a bit by staying ahead of David Coulthard, and we look at Rubens Barrichello. So the reliability of both the Ferraris and both the McLarens has made things impossible for any other team to get on the podium. The first 3 places, the top non-Ferrari man is going to be Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW, and better than that he could not have hoped to do.
So Häkkinen scored 32 points out of a possible 40 in the last 4 Grand Prix, Murray. That's pretty much what you'd call a World Championship charge, isn't it? And, well, who can stop him? He's got so much confidence from the last 2 years, knowing he can pull it out of the bag at the end, and he leaps into the lead of the championship with a performance that was just mesmerising.
And so back-to-back victories in Hungary for the revitalised world champion Mika Häkkinen. All sorts of problems in the build-up, but finding the sweet spot when it mattered.
It has been a very difficult weekend for me. I haven't been able to really perform in the speed what I wanted to. We've been struggling basically, like I've been admitting whole weekend. Engineers, mechanics has done a massive work all the way through the weekend. I hope they're still my friends, to be honest.
Mika found some amazing speed today.
He drove very well. I mean, we were able to control the race. And we're a bit disappointed we didn't come first and second. I think we could have done it, but First and third's pretty good.
Didn't get the run with the traffic today to get out in front of Michael after the pit stop, so I came out just behind him and that was it, game over.
I would have wished to win the race, especially after all these bad time we have had, but then we weren't fast enough. So there's no point to be too excited, but there's no point to be disappointed either. So that's the general situation.
Bad luck, Ross. Guess it wasn't really your day today. Are you surprised by the speed of Hakkinen?
A little bit, yes. Yeah, I mean at the beginning, but Michael was being very cautious with the tyres. Obviously we had a bad experience at Magny-Cours. And with it being so hot today, we didn't want to get the tyres too hot. So we were being fairly cautious. I spoke to him in the first stint and he was happy with the car. And once it became clear it would be difficult to beat Mika, the focus then was to stay in front of David, which we did.
Ralph, once again, best of the race. That's kind of becoming Williams' spot, isn't it?
Well, it sounded a bit different the last few races, but yeah, it looks like it at the moment, and we are very happy about it, obviously.
A bit disappointing, really, because I was in 7th position behind Frentzen. We had a chance of getting some points, and Cal was working well. I think we didn't have the best traffic in the world. I think, but that was a problem for everyone.
I think we were quick today, but we just once we had the fuel problem, we lost fuel pressure, so I had to come in early at the first stop, and then I had to do the rest of the race with a lot more fuel to try and stop the pickup problem we had. So that cost us speed as well through the race. So I think we've yet to do a good race. It's simple as that. You know, we've yet to make a good start, good qualifying, good start. Good race, good stops the whole way through, and that's why we don't have any points.
One race is behind. Yeah. You know, we have still many races in front of us, and next Grand Prix could be different again. But I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling confident. Thing is behind me 100%, and behind David, of course. So we are strong.
5 to go then. Hakkinen out front for the first time. 32 points in the last 4 races. Take him a couple clear of Michael Schumacher and 6 ahead of Coulthard. Barrichello effectively out of the title race. Ralf Schumacher moving a couple of points closer to Fisichella. McLaren with 14 points scored today, overtaking Ferrari, desperately close between the heavyweights. Ralf Schumacher keeping Williams third, and Frentzen takes Jordan up alongside the non-scoring BAR. Now then, Tony Jardine, we talked a lot about the importance of the start. Mika Hakkinen was away and there was no catching him.
It literally launched him into the lead and the victory that he wanted, and denying Ferrari and Michael Schumacher of a victory that was so important to them with just 2 points between them. Look at this here, an incredible amount of wheel spin for David Coulthard. He's having to struggle there with Ralf Schumacher on his inside. But look at this, look where Hakkinen is, right on the inside, and he just squeezes past Michael Schumacher to take the lead. But he's come from third on the grid. Admittedly, he was on the grippier side on the racing line. And there's Coulthard fighting with Ralf Schumacher as well. It was a brilliant start by Hakkinen.
Schumacher a bit tentative there, perhaps?
I think he was. He said before the race, I've got to finish this one. So it was obviously in his mind that he'd only done 700 metres in the last 2 races. I've got to get through. So rather than be brave, he held off and gave Hakkinen some space. That's not like Schumacher, is it?
No, not at all. It looks as though Jenson Button and Giancarlo Fisichella could well be teammates at Benetton next season. Came a bit too close for comfort round here today.
So says Murray. Murray says that he's already signed. There may be some
too.
Difficulties with Montoya yet. We shall find out. But yeah, I mean, Jenson Button again really, really impressed, because this is a difficult circuit to come to for the first time. Long corners, difficult to see the apexes, blind brows. But Fisichella in front of him when they were fighting for 7th place was having problems with his brake balance. And you see him running wide here, getting the car out of shape and actually spinning. Jenson's already wide there as well, quite well offline, and nearly collects the Italian. While all that is happening, Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar nips through into 7th place. But lightning reactions from the young 20-year-old there.
After his first victory, the first victory of his career at Hockenheim, we wondered if things might change for Rubens Barrichello at Ferrari, but when it comes to it, as we saw right behind us, and Mr. Schumacher is still very much the governor there.
Oh, indeed. And they may well have been on different strategies, and the fact is that Barrichello was going to stop in 1 or 2 laps after that, but Schumacher had his pit stop and he dropped to 5th place at this point, so you can imagine the radio going off inside Barrichello's car there. Let him through, let him through. That's team orders. He doesn't have a chance. He's going to have to do as he's told, especially now that Schumacher's 2 points behind in the World Championship race.
Now, David Coulthard lost crucial time when he was held up by Marc Genet, and we saw that in a pit stop He was desperate to get out ahead of Michael Schumacher, and he couldn't quite manage it.
No, but it was a superb pit stop. It was very, very close indeed. Michael Negline, the chief mechanic for McLaren, and all the McLaren guys, look at that, 6.6, a superb stop. Now, then we were waiting to see down the pit straight. Where was Michael Schumacher? There he was, touch and go. Could David Coulthard get out? Not quite, just a whisker in it there. And of course, that brought him, with that superb pit stop, right up behind Michael Schumacher, challenging for the second place. David knows that he wanted those 6 points, but there was no way past. As close as he could get, then sucking in all that dirty air and eating the dust and stones from Michael Schumacher. He had to settle for third place, but Genet caused that.
What a contrast this weekend for Mika Häkkinen. Gloomy, miserable, worried on qualifying day. What a difference
Everything.
today.
Well, the body language said it. This is after he'd taken this first draconian setup and just tried it. He came in and he was talking to Adrian Newey there. So, look, you know, this isn't working. They kept changing the car during qualifying. They even made a change on the grid to that car. And look at him now smiling. And his trainer there giving him the old bucket treatment. In the old days, of course, that would have been full of ice as well. You know, these namby-pamby drives. That probably was warm water, you know.
Thanks, Tony. Here is your complete Hungarian rundown. Häkkinen assured of P1 from the first corner. Michael Schumacher really outpaced by the McLaren. Coulthard just can't win round this place. Barrichello fourth, Ralf Schumacher fifth for Williams, Frentzen getting a point for Jordan. Then Trulli, the only one stopper. Irvine taking full advantage of Button's engine problems. Salo, the other Finn, in the top 10. Wirtz, the lone Benetton finisher. Villeneuve, he lost his nose cone on the first lap. Verstappen 13th. The Arrows couldn't profit here. Then Zonta, the BAR's always struggling for grip. Genet, Coulthard's roadblock, 15th. De La Rosa, he tangled with Villeneuve, and he was the last finisher. Mazzacani's engine, that blew late on. A faulty gearbox ended Herbert's race. Diniz, he went with engine failure. Fisichella's brakes finished him on lap 31, and the Prosts were the first to go. So then, just looking ahead, those are the races to come. Belgium, Italy, the USA, Japan and Malaysia. And tonight, the bookmakers, Ladbrokes, have altered their thinking on who will win the World Championship. Häkkinen, favourite for the first time, 11-10. Michael Schumacher, 6-4. They'll give you 3-1 Coulthard. Barrichello out of it at 80s. Be sure to join us in a couple of weeks' time at Spa then. The full ITV weekend service, qualifying live 11:30 on the Saturday. A 1-2 for the McLarens there last year, remember. The race live from 12:15. Highlights at 11:25. The world champion Mika Häkkinen has shown brilliant form here. He is hungrier than ever to win again. Good night.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by livesport365.com is www.itv-f1.com.